Now, in addition to the Parsha, I do try to interject some general knowledge about the literature of the Torah, which does take some time, but let me make a short preface here. Years ago, I was on an airplane, and right near me, a man was reading a very intellectual book, and it was about the demysticization of the world. And as usual, the culprit was Western religion and the Bible, which emphasized monotheism and the God of justice and the secondary character of the whole world to God's presence. The distinction between the Western religions rooted in the Bible and the Eastern ones being described that since in the Eastern religions you have this pantheism, and so the animistic aspect of it in which all members of nature and trees and rivers and so on actually have a persona, made the whole universe and the whole world and the relationship of man and the world much more interesting. And this presumably was lacking in the Western religions. One doesn't find this. It was being claimed in the Western religions, presumably because the omnipotent God ruled out the possibility of relating to other aspects of nature. Well, this is not true. Although one reading the Torah in the written version does not see very much of this mystical aspect of it, but in the Talmud, which is the oral tradition, inseparable from the written tradition, we have a certain part known as Agadata, imprecisely translated as the legends of the Torah. And then we have very, very interesting stories which seem to bypass the laws of nature. And here it is very crucial to emphasize that which is written by Maimonides, the great rationalist, which is that Torah is called Torah Emet, the Torah of truth, the written Torah and the oral Torah being wedded together, and it is merely our task to understand what the truth is. And he explains that in the case of the Agadatas, which have sometimes very fantastic stories, indeed we must understand that the words of Agadata are always true, and it is only a question about what is the truthful aspect of it, if the story is to be taken literally or if there's another hidden message which is meant to be conveyed. And so I will tell a very interesting story which is connected to this week's Parsha, as we will see later on down the line, and which is meant to illustrate the message which I said in the previous clip. There was a great Talmudic sage. His name was Pinchas ben Yair, and in those years, previous to our common era, sadly, it was not uncommon for captives to be taken, especially Jewish captives. And so there was very much activity in this great mitzvah called Pidyon Shvu'im, which means redeeming captives. And it was precisely this mitzvah which Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair had to perform. And he went in order to redeem some captives. And on the way, he came to a river. The river's name was the River Ginai. And he said to the river, Ginai, Ginai, the river Ginai, divide your waters. But the river, understandably, was not anxious to do so, because rivers don't divide, rivers flow. You don't just, stop flowing. So, says the Agadata, the river replied to Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. He said, I fulfill the will of my Creator, and you fulfill the will of your Creator. However, my fulfillment of my Creator's will, who created water with a nature that it flows and does not stand up and split, I will surely succeed in fulfilling that. If I suspend that and stop fulfilling my Creator's will in order for you to fulfill your Creator's will, the same Creator, there's a question mark. Maybe you will succeed, and maybe you will not succeed. To this, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair replied, if you do not divide your waters, never again will waters flow in the river. Upon hearing this, the river split for Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, and another man came who was bringing wheat for Pesach, and Pinchas ben Yair said, split for him as well. And then actually, a non-Jew, an Arab, came, and although he did not seem to be in the process of any specific mitzvah, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair said to Ginai, the river Ginai, split for him as well, so people will not say, is this how one treats a member of your entourage? They were fellow travelers traveling together. And I will tell you a bit later why I also included the story of the Jewish and indeed non-Jewish companions of Pinchas ben Yair. The Talmud is really amazed at the story. The other colleagues of the one telling the story, they say, if so, Pinchas ben Yair is greater than Moshe. Moshe split the sea only once. And here Pinchas ben Yair split the river Ginai 3 times. The Talmud suggests a possible revision of this opinion and says perhaps it only remains split for the other 2 travelers, in which case we should say not that he is greater than Moshe, but that Pinchas ben Yair is as great as Moshe.